How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After Our Soul. This time for this new episode for this series is going to be my review on the 2024 sci-fi action film, and this is the newest installment to this reboot franchise that was created back in 2011, while also being the 10th installment to this franchise that was created back in 1969, and that is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This new entry to this franchise was directed by Wes Ball, the man behind the Maze Runner trilogy, and this is set many years after the reign of Caesar, where we follow a young ape named Noah, played by Owen Teague, in which he goes on a journey that leads him to questioning about the past, from what he's been told everything about that. And from there, we see him making choices that will define a future for both apes and humans alike. So that's pretty much the story of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, when it comes to the overall Planet of the Apes movies, like when it comes to the original movie from 1969, it is definitely an absolute masterpiece. And I can definitely see how that film has become such an iconic classic. And it is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies. But when it comes to the reboot franchise, like the first movie, which came out in 2011, which was, of course, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, back then a few people had low expectations for that movie because for the last movie that we did get in this franchise was, of course, the 2001 remake by Tim Burton. And for that movie, I wasn't really the biggest fan of, and I would say it's one of Tim Burton's worst movies, as well as like one of Mark Wahlberg's not so good films. But for the overall first film of this new Apes movie, of the new Apes franchise, I overall had a really great time with that movie. And as for the last two films, which were both directed by Matt Reeves, which were of course Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Wolf of the Planet of the Apes, I thought both of them were just absolutely epic films, and I thought he did a fantastic job of directing those two last movies of this newer franchise. And so when I heard we were getting a newer entry to this franchise, I was pretty curious, but I was also a little bit worried as well, because I didn't even know, was it worthy to continue on with the story from the last film. But once I heard it was not going to continue on from the story from the last film, I was like, thank God. And but I was really surprised that Wes Ball was going to be behind the camera for this film. And as I mentioned before, he directed the Maze Runner films, and when it came to those three films, I thought those movies were just decent films. They're not like the greatest films, but they're not certainly bad films or anything. But I was still really intrigued to check out what he was going to do with this newer entry to this new franchise of the Apes movies. And this film came out on the 10th of May, which I went to see this on opening day with a fair amount of people on the screen that I went to. And after watching this whole movie here, I can definitely tell you guys that this film really surprised me here. I overall had a really great time with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, although I wouldn't necessarily say it is definitely better than the last two films, but this was still a great entry to this franchise here. In terms of the action scenes in this movie, I thought the action scenes in this movie were very fast and very gritty in terms of its direction by Wes Ball, which I really liked his style that he was able to put into in this movie here when it came to those moments here in this film. And as for the sets of the film, they looked really beautiful in terms of like the abandoned cities that we see in the film, where we see vines growing out of them, which I thought all that was really beautiful. And once I saw that, it just immediately reminded me of The Last of Us. And we also get to see a few boats that are being rusted out on the beaches, which all that was really beautiful as well. And as for the visual spectacle in this film, it is truly great here in terms of the motion capture work here in this film. And as for the story for the film, I found it to be pretty interesting, where it's basically not continuing from where the last film ended off, because this is set in the new generation with new characters. And I found these characters to be pretty interesting. Like, I found Noah to be pretty likable in the film, where we follow his journey in the film, which at the very start where we're introduced to him, we see like what he's trying to do for his family, but then later down the line it all changes when he tries to find his family when his home gets invaded. And I did like that storyline quite a bit in the film. But I did like how the film went for a smart choice here, where we see like how the apes view Caesar's legacy and all of that. Like how they view him, as well as his teachings, which all that here I thought was just very smart, and I found it pretty interesting. Like, we get to see a few apes in the film who are pretty different to one another. Like, there's some good apes and bad apes. And while there are parts of the story that kind of were not that very strong for like representing of how humans and apes how they view each other or anything like that, but still the story is still really interesting nonetheless though. And And while the film is a bit longer than the previous films, well, the last film, War for the Planet of the Apes, was 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is 2 hours and 25 minutes, and I kind of felt the runtime was a bit too long. Yeah, and I kind of wish a few minutes could have been trimmed down a little bit. And in terms of the performances in the film, like Owen, who plays Noah in the film, I thought he was really terrific in the film. And Kevin Durand was also terrific as well, in which he plays the villain in this movie, Proximus Caesar. And Peter Macon, who plays this character named Raka, I really liked his character. I thought he was really fun in the movie. And Freya Allen, who plays this young girl who joins along with Noah on his journey, in which her character's named May, I thought she was also great as well. So in the end, guys, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I thought this was overall another great entry to this franchise here. And if you're overall a massive fan of the Planet of the Apes movies, or you're a fan of like the previous 3 films, this is definitely a popcorn treat you don't want to miss out for yourselves here. So that's pretty much all to say about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm going to give Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes 4 out of 5. Definitely another really good entry to this franchise here. And like I said before, I wouldn't necessarily say it was better than the last 2 films, but this was still a great entry to this franchise here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my AK After I Saw review on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And let me know what you think of this movie. If you've recently checked this out, if you've already seen it. Did you have a great time with this, or you're very disappointed with this? As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.